5 events that will change America by 2050. Really excited to get into this and see what kind of events will change America by 2050. Before we do get into this, I appreciate if you guys can hit that subscribe button. Let's just straight to this and check out the future.
2050 is barreling towards us like a freight train.
Okay,
and while
that's
at one
scary.
point that specific year felt like a far-off future year where cars would be hovering around us and
Right.
people would be traveling through space, we're now
Mad.
close enough that we can start making some pretty realistic predictions of what the United States specifically will look like.
Yo, if it's not flying cars and we're on other planets, I'm going to be very, very, very disappointed, bro. But we got what here? More Americans, climate migration, high-speed rail, denser cities, many more trees. There'll be more than that.
Here
Aliens.
are 5 geographic events that will change the US by 2050.
All right, let's see. Bro, aliens better be in here, man.
Hello and welcome to this extra special edition of Geography by Jeff. Now, in each of my episodes, I end up doing a lot of research.
Right.
And in that research, I'm noticing specific trends where I'm now able to look a little bit into the future. None of what you're going to watch in this video is a guarantee,
Time
but
travel.
the trends are there. So in this episode, I'm going to extrapolate those trends out to 2050 and see how they might change the US as a whole.
Alright, we're not gonna see like aliens or anything crazy like that, right? We're just gonna follow on from trends what's happening now. But hey, yo, it will be crazy in 2050. I'm telling you that right now because you can't predict what's gonna happen, you know what I'm saying? Crazy stuff seems to be happening every year, bro. And crazy reveals, you know what I mean? Oh, it's gonna be mad. Let's get into it, man. More than 4 wait, there's like
In 2.5
close to
decades,
400
there will
already.
be a lot more people living in the United States.
Right.
Based on population predictions from the US Census, it's estimated that there will be anywhere between 400 and 440 million
wow.
Americans by 2050.
Isn't that free?
That's an incredible increase in a relatively short period of time.
Okay.
Today, there are just about 332 million Americans. This means that the population will increase anywhere from about 17% at the low end to 25% at the high end.
Does that just mean a lot more people are having sex? Is that what's going on? We're just sexing more?
And because of a shrinking birth rate, the increase in Americans will primarily be due to Americans living longer and migration from other countries.
Oh.
This means
Wait. There's a decrease in birth rate, so less sex. What's going on? It's just that we're living longer now? Oh, great. I wonder what like the average life expectancy in 2050 is.
things. The first is that the average age of Americans is expected to increase. By 2050, it's expected that over 20% of all Americans will be over the age of 65.
Over
the second is that many of these
20%?
newer Americans will be far more diverse than the current population. With
What?
most migration expected to continue from places such as Asia, Africa, and Central America,
Right.
the US will become a country without any majority race. But this kind of growth
Cool.
and migration won't be felt equally across all states. Some states will grow much faster. By 2050, it's expected that California will still be the most populous state with over 49 million people.
Wow.
But Texas will be closing in on it with over 45 million
Bro,
people.
that's crazy.
That would be followed by Florida with over 32 million and New York with just over 21 million.
Yo, that's near enough. Quick maths. 100. That's 150 million, bro. That's half of the population in these 4 locations. In 4 out of the 50 states, bro. That's crazy, man.
Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Illinois are expected to round out the top 10 states by 2050.
Okay.
But not all states will grow. Pennsylvania, Illinois, Michigan, Connecticut, Vermont, and others are expected to shrink in population.
Oh, why?
That is, unless something global pushes people to move north.
Wait, why? People don't want to live there?
Over the last 10 years, we've begun to feel the initial effects of the climate changing.
Right.
Summers
Oh,
are hotter,
yeah.
forests burn faster and for longer periods of time, glaciers are melting, and the oceans are steadily rising. All of these events and more are combining to create livability issues in many regions of the country.
Yo, do you ever think it'll be a point where the whole entire planet Earth would just be water? Like, would have to, like, grow gills and swim with the fishes?
And in particular, the southern part of the country will face the brunt of these changes before the north will. While no place is fully immune from the impacts of climate change, it's expected that states such as California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, and other Southwest states will run short on water. At the same time, due to the ice sheet melting in the North and the South Pole, the oceans will begin to rise, which will be felt mostly along the Gulf Coast states and Florida, as well as much of the eastern seaboard. It's for this reason that, as these places become harder and harder to live in, people will likely move to where there are fewer issues overall. And one of those places will almost certainly be the Great Lakes region of the United States. In
Okay.
fact, Buffalo, New York is expected to be one of the safest cities in the contiguous US in terms of climate change risks. And the simple fact that the Great Lakes themselves hold about 21% of all surface freshwater will mean that
Wow.
the region at large will be relatively safe from the expected prolonged periods of drought that will increase in frequency. So while
Okay,
current
that's good.
population estimates have most of the population moving to states such as Texas, Florida, and Georgia, that's only if current trends continue as they are today. With an outlying factor
Right.
such as climate change on the horizon, those tens of millions of immigrants and more could opt for the northern states instead. Those are two.
What? And that's all because of the oceans rising? Yo, that's crazy to think about. Yeah, isn't it like the Maldives is apparently going to be underwater by 2050? Like, it's literally sinking, bro.
Huge predictions that could dramatically reshape the United States.
Oh my god, I just spilled my water everywhere. Okay, great. Great. Well done. Bro, I nearly just broke myself, I ain't gonna lie. I just flooded my whole setup and I had to restart my whole entire computer, bro. Yo, okay, I gotta be careful now. But right, let's get back into this.
Those tens of millions of immigrants and more could opt for the northern states instead. Those are two huge predictions that could dramatically reshape the United States as we know it.
Okay.
They're also the two with the most variability. The US, for example, could clamp down on immigration, in which
Right.
case the country could potentially not grow at all, or even shrink like we're starting to see in countries like Japan. Our next three predictions are far
Wow.
more likely to happen. But before we get to our next three predictions, if you're enjoying this video, hit that
Yo,
subscribe
that's
button.
crazy to
More
think
fun
countries are
geography videos
shrinking,
are just
dude,
a
in
single
size.
click away.
I thought it would just constantly, like, the more and more people you get, the more and more people are gonna make babies, and etc. It's just a pattern of going up.
High-speed rail is something the United States has been talking about for a long time.
Oh, really?
But very little of
big
it has
country.
actually materialized to date. Outside of some small segments of Amtrak's Acela service in the Northeast Corridor, most regions barely have any form of passenger rail at all,
Right.
high speed or otherwise. But by 2050, that will change significantly. For
There you
starters,
go.
the country's most infamous high-speed rail line, California High-Speed Rail, should begin full service from Los Angeles to San Francisco in 2033.
Okay,
An
cool.
additional phase 2 of the project is also being planned right now, which would see further connections to Sacramento and San Diego, effectively linking all major California cities by high-speed rail. Two other high-speed rail services that
It says high speed. I wonder how quick that actually would be.
are pretty far along in their development are the Texas Central High-Speed Rail from Houston to Dallas and the Florida Brightline extension that will connect Miami to Orlando.
Okay.
Both should be complete well before 2050.
Yo, I thought when it said high speed rail, I thought it was gonna be a whole entire system to get from one country to another. That's how big America is, bro. From one side of the country to the other, dude. But America's that big. You need it just for the own states. Crazy, man.
Complete well before 2050. And with three primary examples of high-speed rail operating within the country by 2030, this will undoubtedly lead to more projects popping up around the country.
Sure.
By 2050, there will likely be additional high-speed passenger train services to facilitate quick rail transportation within key regions.
That'd be handy.
In the Pacific Northwest, a high-speed rail line is being looked at to connect Portland, Oregon to Vancouver, British Columbia by way of Seattle. Back in
Okay.
California, a high-speed rail route from Las Vegas to Los Angeles should either be complete or nearing completion.
Yo, listen. I bet everyone in LA wants this badly. Because then you can just like easily get to Vegas, bro. Do your partying at the weekend and then easily get back by rail, dude. I bet they want this badly, dude.
In the Southeast, a route connecting Atlanta to Washington, D.C. by way of Charlotte could be fully realized. And of course, in the train capital of the country, Chicago,
Okay.
we could see the first ever high-speed rail hub connecting the city to Minneapolis, St. Louis, Indianapolis, Cleveland, and Detroit.
Oh, wow.
And due to the speed and convenience of high-speed rail, as well as other changes in land use already being implemented, the US will very likely see a change in development within its cities.
That's cool. Denser and more efficient
Outside of a
cities.
few places in the US, primarily New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, and San Francisco, most cities have followed a pretty typical development pattern over the last 100 years.
Right.
And even in those named cities, their suburbs are often more like other suburbs around the country than they are to their core cities. All that's to say, most metro regions in the United States have a very small downtown core area with skyscrapers, followed by a sea of low-density buildings,
Okay.
single-family homes, and big box retail stores and outlets. This type of development pattern has been in existence since
Yo, it's crazy to look. Every time I see stuff like this, right? is crazy to me. It's so neat. You know how like everything's done in blocks? Yo, just get a bird's eye view of the UK. You won't see anything like this, bro. The UK is just random. Look at my mouse, right? The roads and the streets are like this, bro. They're just skied everywhere, bro.
It's the early 1900s when the idea of the suburb was just starting out. And it was largely the byproduct of a zoning law that allowed for large parts of every city to be dedicated to the building of nothing but large lot single-family homes.
Okay.
And while this kind of development worked well for the 1900s, in the 2000s, it's definitely showing its age. With more people cramming into cities than ever before, states are starting to see that they're not able to fit enough housing into their cities.
Oh, really?
And this has caused large spikes in the cost of housing in basically every metropolitan region in the country.
Oh, wow.
To combat this, states such as Maine, Oregon, Washington, and California have enacted laws that allow for more types of housing to be built within cities. In Oregon, where once only single-family houses were allowed in many residential zones, today, a state law has forced every city to allow for duplexes, triplexes, and quadplexes in those same areas.
Right.
And this isn't just for the bigger cities of Portland and Eugene, but for all incorporated cities in the state.
This is beautiful, man. I want to live in a place like this, bro. You know where you got the mountains, like, closing in on the area? Beautiful.
Incorporated cities in the state. As these laws take effect, over the coming decades, the cities will start to look and feel a little different. Portland will not ever likely look like New York City, but it will feel more dense and alive than it does today.
Oh, where's this?
Never likely look like New York City, but it will.
Where's this? Oh, this is beautiful, man. With the lights and the... Oh, my. Oh, I need to live in a place like this, bro. I need to live in a place like this.
Feel more dense and alive than it does today.
Wow.
And with 4 states already pioneering this, it's likely that we'll see additional states adopt a more progressive zoning structure in order to keep housing prices attainable for the people living in them.
Interesting. At least 1 billion new trees. Whoa.
Today, the United States has bold plans to plant a lot more trees.
Okay.
According to the Global Forest Watch, the country has been losing more trees than it plants every single year due to a combination of urbanization, wildfires, and
Wait. Yo. Is green the trees? Yo, where's the trees in America? Yo, where are the trees? Yo, the top of Africa's got no trees whatsoever. China's missing trees. Yo. Oh, wow. What's the pink? Tree cover loss. The blue is tree cover gain. Ah, they ain't no blue.
the Global Forest Watch, the country has been losing more trees than it plants every single year due to a combination of urbanization, wildfires, and the forestry industry. But in the future, we could see a radical reversal of this trend. Right now, the U.S. Department of Agriculture is planning on adding an additional 1 billion new trees to its collective forests by the year 2030.
Okay.
1 billion new trees is essentially the same as adding a full Connecticut's worth of forests to the country. And while that might not seem like much in the grand scheme of things, the fact that trees are still the best way to capture carbon from the atmosphere, adding additional trees to the nation's forests will be integral to ensure that the effects of climate change are relatively muted.
Okay.
Not only that, but this is just until 2030, 7 years away from today. If the United States kept its new pace of tree planting, it could potentially plant 4 billion new trees by 2050, which would be a new forest that's closer to the size of Vermont and New Hampshire combined. That's a lot more trees for the forests, which means a lot more natural areas for wildlife and more carbon sucking for humans.
Yo, this is beautiful, man. You know how I said America's got no trees? Well, clearly you do. Just America's that big, it just look like you're missing a lot, you know what I'm saying?
2050 is right around the corner. And in truth, all of this could happen and more. Nobody can truly predict what's going to happen over the next 2.5 decades.
Alien invasion!
But with a little luck, all of the good things coming our way will happen.
Yo, by 2050, bro, we'll be colonizing other planets. I'm sure of it, dude. I'm sure of it. I don't know, but do you know what would be really interesting? To see what you guys think would happen by 2050. Make sure you let me know. It'd be really interesting to see what you guys will have to say about that. I genuinely think we're going to discover some sort of alien life, bro. Something's crazy going to happen, man. Something's crazy gonna happen. But very, very interesting. Enjoyed that a lot. Hopefully you guys enjoyed as well. If you did, make sure to leave a thumbs up. Subscribe for more content. I'm live every single day on twitch.tv/L3WG. If you guys want to check me out over there, I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.